everyone is doing well. We're back here for another NBA offseason guide, this time with the Charlotte Hornets and detailing what their offseason is going to look like, or what it could look like. Now, this is a team that for sure would have made the playoffs in the East had it not been for Miles Bridges being arrested and LaMelo Ball fracturing his foot. The combination of those two things sent Charlotte into somewhat of a downward spiral, finishing with a record of 27-55 and falling into what could potentially be a top 5 pick in this year's draft. And some news heading into this offseason is that now Michael Jordan is preparing to sell a majority stake of the Charlotte Hornets, as Marquise Appling wrote on FantomSportsIndustries.com. Go check it out. But the resources for this year's draft look like this, or for the offseason, I should say, look like this. Yes, I said the draft. That's the first and foremost resource that the Charlotte Hornets are going to have. And it's going to be a big hit on this year's draft. It's going to have to be a big hit on this year's draft. Taking a look at what they have, you've got 2 firsts and 3 seconds. 5 picks is a lot to have in this year's draft, but the problem is this year's draft isn't the deepest. Now, outside of the top 5, you've got some good players here and there, but nothing really that catches a naked eye. So, you're going to have to hit on a lot of the players in this year's draft and draft well. Now, with that being said, Charlotte has their own free agents in PJ Washington and Miles Bridges that are going to have to be big gets as well. Now, with that, you could move on from Miles Bridges or bring him back and give him another shot. PJ Washington definitely deserves to be here. But do you bring Miles Bridges back? Now, he's going to be suspended for the first 10 games of the NBA season, so whatever team signs him is going to have to know that. Then you've got LaMelo Ball, who's going to be an all-star if he's healthy, and is due for a contract extension within the next 2 years. You can go out and sign him to that extension this year, but he does still have another year under his belt, so there's no need to rush there. The centers on this team right now are Williams and Richards. So if you get that number 1 pick, adding a guy like Victor Wembanyama is going to be nice. Not only will he help propel this team into a playoff contention, but he's also going to allow you to have some depth at the center position without having to go out and spend some money in free agency in a center-laden or center-lacking NBA free agency. There are a couple of free agents that may fit, but before we get to that, you need to add to the bench. And that's where Hayward's contract might come in. Now, $31.5 million is a lot to offload, but it can be done. Especially for a team that is destined to make the playoffs. Maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder are looking for a veteran piece that has playoff experience. Gordon Hayward fits that mold. Yeah, they're going to have to take on the salary cap, but they have the ability to do so. And they've got the draft capital that they can send back over if that's what the Hornets want. So, with that being said, He can trade that contract for a couple of players. But there's also the notable free agents that I had just mentioned, Gary Trent Jr. And if you get Trent, who has a player option with the Toronto Raptors, he's most likely going to decline. You could start Gary Trent at the shooting guard position and allow Terry Rozier to go back to the bench and allow him to lead that second unit. Or you could just start Gary Trent Jr. on the bench and allow him to be a sixth man. Either way, you're most likely going to have Dennis Smith Jr., Kelly Oubre, and a couple of other players as well. Dennis Smith Jr. most likely going to be back. But a couple of other names that could go out and get. Seth Curry would be a decent piece. He's done well in the past for the Portland Trailblazers, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Brooklyn Nets. Joe Ingles could be a nice veteran piece, as well as Corey Joseph. There's a lot of guys who can be very nice veteran pieces, veteran leaders in this year's NBA free agency. But it really all depends on what Steve Clifford and Mitch Kupchak do and where they see fit. That being said, this could be the biggest offseason ever. Now, that was the story last year, but it's definitely the story heading into the 2023 NBA offseason once again for the Charlotte Hornets. This is a team that needs to get healthy and hit on their draft picks if they want to compete in the 2023-2024 NBA season.